Hello everyone, my name is Dylan and welcome to a very romantic video. If you are new here, hi there, I post fun and entertaining English lessons every single Friday. So today I'm going to be talking to you about the dating culture in the UK, because I know this does vary quite a lot from country to country. So let me just explain how this video came about. Well, last week, I made a post on my Instagram and my YouTube community page asking you guys to give me some random questions about the UK. Firstly, I was overwhelmed with the number of questions I received, so thank you very much for that. And secondly, I noticed that quite a lot of them were to do with dating, which is completely understandable, you know, it's quite a juicy topic. So, originally, this video was just supposed to be me answering all of your questions about the UK. However, I sat down and started scripting it, and then after answering all of the dating ones, I realized the video was going to be about 40 minutes long. So I thought, you know what, change of plan, I've got my Love Heart t-shirt on, and this is just going to be a fun video where I teach you everything that I know about dating in the UK. Enjoy. Right guys, and there we have it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. You know, it's a little joke for you right there. Kick things off with a bit of humour, why not? Right, but seriously, I think this video is going to be very useful if you are considering coming to the UK, or, you know, maybe you already live here and you're not getting any matches on Tinder and you would like to know why. You might even be here because you're looking to marry one of us for that sweet, sweet British citizenship. Well, whatever your reason, welcome. Today, you will learn everything you need to know about dating in the UK, such as where to meet someone, what a typical date is like, the different types of relationships, what it's like having a British partner, acceptable age gaps, how to get a one-night stand, and much more. You know, soon enough, guys, you'll be wearing one of these t-shirts. So this video is not only going to help you improve your love life, your listening, your reading, and pronunciation skills, but I'm also going to be teaching you some of the everyday expressions and vocabulary that I used whilst I was waffling on. So if you see something pop up on the screen, that means it will be explained at the end of the video in a free PDF, and the link will be in the top comment. I will also include the full transcript from today's video, which you can see here, and it just means that you can read along with me. Right, so just so you know, in next Friday's video, I will be answering all of the other questions that you had about the UK. So if you would like to get involved in that, please just message me on Instagram with your questions. The Instagram is BritishEducation_, and the link will be in the top comment as well. Finally, if you would like to listen on the go, you can also follow my Spotify where I post weekly videos, and guess what guys, the link is also in the top comment. Right then, let's do this. Wait guys, sorry, before we get to the video, I need to tell you something very important. Every Tuesday, I send out a completely free newsletter containing a short, funny English lesson about my life. As soon as you sign up, you will also receive an exclusive bonus video sent right to your inbox, and it's actually a good video as well. I do also have a very exciting announcement coming up soon, and the newsletter people will be the first to know. Cheers. The link is in the top comment, obviously. Cheers. Okay guys, welcome to the official Dating in the UK guide. Before we begin, I need to give a quick disclaimer, okay? This video is just my personal opinion from a man's point of view. Please don't be offended if you think that I've got anything wrong. I've tried to be as inclusive as possible, alright? Question number 1. Hey Dylan, could you make a video on what dating in the UK is like and how the people meet? Hello there, and yes, I absolutely can. Here we are. So where do people meet? Well, we have the usual suspects, you know, the dating apps. We have Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge. These are all pretty much the same. Tinder seems to be a bit more focused on casual fun, shall we say, whereas Bumble and Hinge are probably better for those who are seeking an actual connection. So personally, I would advise you to stay far away from these apps, and that is unless you are particularly good looking or you are a female, in which case, enjoy. So let me just explain what I mean by that. So on these apps, there tends to be a ratio of about 80% men to 20% women. I don't think those are the exact statistics, but it's something like that. It's crazy. So that means that if you are a woman, you should hopefully be in a position to receive more attention. You should get more likes, more matches, and more messages as well. Whereas it's the complete opposite. If you're a man, there is a lot more competition. So unless you are particularly good looking, as I've said here, you're going to find it hard. And that's another reason why I would recommend you to stay away from these apps. They're solely based on your physical appearance. They don't care how funny you are, what your personality is like, how smart you are, how nice of a person you are either. So it's quite shallow, and I just think there's better ways that you can meet people, to be honest. And we're going to go over those in a minute. Anyway, these apps are very commonly used in the UK, especially in the bigger cities where there tends to be more activity. So by all means, give it a go. Feel free to get involved. And I don't know, it might be different for you as you're foreign. You're going to see more exotic and interesting, so you might get more matches. That's my excuse anyway. Right, good luck. Oh, and by the way, throughout this video, I have included quite a few funny comics. So by all means, feel free to pause the video, have a look, have a quick chuckle, and then resume. Or if you don't care, you don't need to pause the video. And if you're listening on Spotify, you don't know what I'm talking about, do you? So yeah, whatever. Right, number 2, work/university. So work. In the UK, it isn't uncommon for people to meet at work and start an office romance. It does happen, but I think it does depend on where you work as well. So I think in a bigger company, it's probably more likely to happen, and this is for a couple of reasons. Firstly, there's just a bigger pool of candidates for you to choose from. It's more likely that you're able to find someone who you're compatible with and attracted to and is age appropriate. More on that later. And also, in a bigger company, you're less likely to see that person on a regular basis. So therefore, if your office romance goes terribly wrong, you should be able to avoid them. Maybe you'll see them like once a week at a team meeting with like 50 other people, or you'll bump into them at the vending machine whilst you're getting yourself a Nutri-Grain bar. But for the most part, you should be able to skip that whole awkward phase of like seeing someone that you've just dumped. Whereas in a startup company, for example, there might be like 8 of you. And that means that you're going to have to spend like 9 hours a day sitting opposite the person that you've just broken up with, which might be slightly awkward. So you might have to hide it a bit, but it's normally pretty obvious anyway. For the record, I think if you have like a serious romantic relationship with someone, I think it's fine. I think it's legal. You just need to report it to HR. I don't really know, to be honest. This is just the information that I've received from watching The Office about 10 years ago, but it sounds about right. Yeah. Right, university. I'd say that quite a lot of students meet some form of partner at university. And, it's full of people of a similar age, in a similar stage of their life, doing similar things with similar interests. Okay, so you take that and you mix that with a large amount of alcohol and living in close quarters, and, some romance is bound to blossom. I made this photo myself, by the way. Well, I added the love hearts. Right, number 3, bars and clubs. Don't worry, guys, these aren't all going to be alcohol related. If you don't drink, you'll still be able to find love. It just so happens that the first 3 are related to alcohol. Wait, the first one wasn't related to alcohol. No, the second one wasn't related to alcohol. So don't worry. Do you guys drink at work? No? Right, number 3, bars and clubs. This is probably one of the more common ways that adults meet in the UK. Clubs probably tend to lead to more short-term relationships, shall we say. And I've included a photo of the club. Guys, I'm trying not to get sidetracked, but I need to tell you about clubs. They're just awful. Like, look at this photo, right? Does this look actually fun to you? Like, it just feels so hot and crowded. There's so many people there. It stings. I can smell this photo, and this is not like a personal attack on anyone in this photo, but you know what I mean? When there's just loads of people in a confined space, there's going to be quite a strong odor. I can smell this photo. The music's going to be too loud and just really annoying as well. I don't even care if I sound old by saying this, because we all know it's the truth. That floor is so sticky, I promise you, and you're going to be waiting in line to get a drink. You're going to be waiting for about half an hour. Then eventually, when you overpay for a lukewarm drink served to you in a hot plastic cup, by the time you get to the back of the queue to get yourself another drink, it's going to be gone. You're going to have sobered up and you're going to have to repeat the whole process. So I'm not the biggest fan of clubs. And I mean, fair enough if you can dance. I can see the appeal, but that's not me, unfortunately. Anyway, I went off on a bit of a tangent there. Oh, it is kind of related. I think this is a very big reason why a lot of people go to clubs in the first place. So just bear that in mind, okay? I mean, why else would you go to a club? Anyway, in a bar, I think you can actually have more of a conversation with someone. You know, you can get to know them a bit. Perhaps you can share your Instagram or your number with them. And then, I don't know, that's maybe more likely to lead to more of a genuine connection. And potentially you will actually end up dating this person, maybe even forming a relationship with them as well. Now, I'd say in the UK, 8 times out of 10, it will be the man that approaches the woman, but it still doesn't happen as much as it probably should do. And I will explain what I mean by that later. Anyway, if you're wondering why I specified bars and not pubs, even though they are quite similar, I feel like no one really goes to the pub to meet someone romantically. Like, it's not really the vibe there. The pub is more about, you know, having 11 pints of cheap lager and a packet of cheese and onion crisps with your mates. And you're probably not at your most charming after consuming all that. Trust me. Right, number 4, events and clubs. And I'm talking about clubs that you join, so like running clubs and rock climbing clubs. And I personally think this is probably the most wholesome and promising way of meeting someone. You know, I think if you're looking for a genuine, long-lasting relationship, I'd say the majority of those form from these types of interactions. Like the happiest couple you know probably met at a rock climbing club in Bath or something like that. Anyway, the reason why I think it's the most promising is because you already have a shared interest and something to do together that, you know, doesn't involve you drinking copious amounts of alcohol that might impair your judgment a little bit. I think that both men and women are likely to be a bit more outgoing in these situations as well, which is quite important in the UK. And one of the reasons why is because if their romantic approach goes horribly wrong, they can just say something like, oh, you've got a boyfriend. Oh, sorry, I was just trying to help you with the rock climbing. Oh, you thought I was asking you out? Oh, no. I'm just here to climb some rocks, and I know you're new here, so I thought maybe you needed some help. So anyway, the name's Greg. It's nice to meet you. You can just hear this guy saying that, right? Respectfully. So it's that type of thing. The fact that you're technically there to do an activity is kind of like a safety net. No pun intended. All right, as you will discover throughout this video as well, British people don't really tend to say what they really mean when it comes to dating. Yeah, that will be a recurring theme. Some of us, but not all of us, tend to beat around the bush a little bit. Okay. So that's definitely something to be aware of, but as I say, more on that later, don't worry. As a general tip though, when it comes to making friends, you know, not even in a romantic sense, just making friends or, you know, meeting a partner in general, I would definitely recommend the approach of doing activities and, you know, joining clubs. I know it's a bit scary at first, but within like the first 5 minutes, you'll be absolutely fine. And if it's in a major city, I promise you won't be the only foreigner there. You just won't be. And if it isn't in a major city, it's probably going to be a bit rubbish, to be honest. And I am speaking from experience as well. I'm just going to be honest. There aren't many people signing up to do pickleball on a rainy Thursday evening in Slough, for example. Right, there is a website called meetup.com where you can find local events in your area, and they're normally for free as well. I'm not sponsored by them, but it's genuinely a good service that I recommend. I'm going to make a whole video on making friends in the UK as well. Don't worry, guys. All right, number 5, mutual friends, you know, talking to friends. Okay, so this one is fairly self-explanatory, and it's just when one of your mates hopefully knows some nice girl or guy that they can introduce you to. Cool. Although you got to bear in mind, this approach does require you to have friends in the first place. So, you know, maybe wait for that video to drop. All right, number 6, mixers and speed dating. So we don't really have many mixer events or speed dating events in the UK. I'm sure you can find some, but they aren't as common as they are in other countries. And honestly, even if you did manage to find one, it would probably be seen as quite a weird way to meet someone. And this just ties in with this ongoing theme that I feel like British people don't like to be too obvious or direct when it comes to romantic pursuits. And of course, an event like this just completely goes against that. So honestly, even if there was an event that a British person wanted to go to, I feel like they probably still wouldn't, out of like shame or like fear of being judged. You know, here, if you told someone that you met your partner at a speed dating event, they might say something like, "Oh, wow, that's cool." But in their mind, they're going to be thinking, "Oh, wow, that's cool. Speed dating. Bit weird. I mean, what's wrong with them? Why do they need to go to speed dating? That's a bit odd, no?" That type of thing. And a couple of funny comics there. Don't forget to laugh, guys. Starts at 7, shuts at 7:02. That's speed dating for you. Right, this judgment, it just is what it is. You know, we're pretty open-minded in some ways and just so close-minded in others. It is a shame, but it is what it is. Anyway, don't worry, guys, because we have our own unofficial forms of speed dating and mixer events. And these come in the form of running clubs, rock climbing clubs, language exchanges, etc., etc. Now, the beauty of these things is that you can turn up and try to meet someone with a similar interest without the risk of being accused of trying to find someone romantically. You know, it is the perfect indirect British way of finding love. So yeah, in these events, guys, people are there to meet someone romantically. Maybe not everyone, but it's certainly an element. I'd say a large majority of people there are interested in that type of thing. And let me give you an example. So this is at a run club, right? And this guy is called Joe, shall we say. I just want you to ask me, say, "Hey Joe, why are you here?" "Oh, I'm just here to run, bro." Yeah, I've just driven 40 minutes to this particular area because I like the route here, bro. Yeah, I like this busy, noisy, dirty city center. Yeah, it's my favorite way to run. "Oh, the fumes." "No, I like the fumes, bro. They're good for you. Yeah, good for your lungs. Good test, you know." "Oh, there's girls here. Really? I didn't know that. That's weird." "Oh, are these new shoes? Am I wearing perfume?" "Yeah, but I always wear perfume when I run. That's just normal, bro. That's just me." You know, that type of thing. Alternatively, you got the language exchange, bro, which is like, "Yeah, I'm just here to learn Spanish, bro. You know, I might go to, Ibiza next year, so it's probably important that I know it, you know. Listen, right. Hola, me, Lamo, John. Nice to meet you. Anyway, what part of Spain you from, love?" That type of thing. So yeah, so those are the type of encounters you can expect to have during these clubs. And I know I am taking the piss a little bit, but it's not even a bad thing. As I said, you're just going to meet someone with similar interests and they should hopefully be a nice person. So there's nothing wrong with this. Do you guys know who this is, by the way? I'm interested to see if this guy has like an international following. He's like relatively famous in the UK. I reckon most people around my age will definitely know who this is. Maybe not older or younger. I don't know, actually. Yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, if you know who this guy is. Right, it's similar to the rock climbing example. As mentioned, British people are normally quite indirect when it comes to dating and a lot of other things as well. Right, number 7. I sounded so Irish there. Number 7. Right, the 7th way you might meet someone is through random approaches. Now, this is when you're just going about your day. Maybe you're doing some shopping. Maybe you're at the gym, walking around town. You might even be at a cafe and you see someone attractive that you would like to speak to or randomly approach. Or someone sees you and decides to start talking to you. You know, they randomly approach you, normally with the intention of getting your Instagram or your phone number so that they can contact you later and hopefully arrange a date. So firstly, if you are a man in the UK expecting to get randomly approached by a woman, yeah, you might be waiting for a little while, mate, to be honest with you. Unless you are incredibly impressive and you look like my boy Handsome Squidward here, it probably isn't going to happen. Maybe in like a bar or a club, yeah, you know, that's probably going to happen at some point in your life, maybe. But in like normal everyday situations like the gym, it's pretty unlikely. Well, in my experience, anyway. So the way this tends to work is when the man makes the first move, and unfortunately in the UK, this is also pretty unlikely to happen, even if the guy really wants to. And this just ties in with this whole British shyness, being reserved thing that we will be discussing a lot throughout this video. So it kind of just goes against our societal norms of not bothering anyone or standing out, or even really, following your dreams. And of course, not everyone is like this, but compared to a country like America, where all the guys or everyone is just so outgoing and confident, they just do what the hell they want. Or I don't know, Brazil. I've used Brazil as a random example. I've never really met a Brazilian person. I've got a couple of students, but I mean, look at this guy. You think this man is not going to be approaching women on a regular basis? This guy goes to the gym. He gets more numbers than he does reps. That was weird. In the UK, you're probably a lot less likely to get interrupted by a stranger, even if they do really want to talk to you, and maybe even if you want them to talk to you as well. So if all that sounds sad, and you do see a man that you reckon is interested, and you would like them to approach you, but they're too scared, you need to give them lots of signals. You need to be like this woman here who is beckoning her dog over. You need to smile, wave at them, that type of thing. Don't be indiscreet here. Or even, you could go and speak to them first. I think they would definitely appreciate that. God, the air here is so dry. It always, my eyes, man. Anyway, obvious disclaimer. And this goes without saying. I know 99.9% of you watching this will be like, yeah, obviously, Dylan, you didn't need to say that. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention this, so let me just say this, right? So use common sense, only speak to someone if they look comfortable, if it's a safe environment, and pick up on social cues. Like, no one cares how handsome you are. I don't think anyone would like to be approached at midnight in a dark alleyway and asked for their Instagram. And I know, guys, that goes without saying, so I don't want to be like patronizing, but it's one of these things. You just have to say it anyway. All right, anyway, if the thought of a stranger approaching you and trying to talk to you sounds absolutely horrible, don't worry, it probably won't happen anyway. No offense. And even if it does, you can just say, sorry, I've got a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and they should leave immediately. This will be them running away in shame. Question number 2. What are normal dates in UK? Thanks. No worries. Okay, so congratulations. Let's pretend you have followed my immaculate guide and you've only gone and landed yourself a cheeky date. Well done. So what can you expect? Well, number 1, drinks. Obviously, alcohol is the social lubricant and British people love to consume it. So this can be a nice and low effort way of getting to know someone. And the reason why I've highlighted low effort is, well, I'll tell you in a minute. Anyway, as mentioned, you'll probably go to a bar and not a club or a pub. So pubs are for drinking beer and eating crisps, and clubs, well, you can't really have a conversation with someone. So unless you both, in fairness, if you both enjoy dancing, then a club could be quite fun. But I think for most people, I don't know, you don't really want to take someone on a first date and have like 5 sweaty drunk guys dancing around them. It's not really that romantic. So yeah, you'll probably end up at a bar. Maybe not this particular one. It looks quite fancy, unless they are particularly rich, or maybe they're not rich and they decide to max out their student overdraft to take you there. And you still reject them, so you're forced to eat Asda's own curry-flavoured ramen noodles for the next 6 months because you don't have any money left. That happened to my friend. Dinner, right, pretty common once again, and you'll probably get taken to like a Pizza Express or maybe some sushi if you're lucky. And yeah, of course, this is another nice way of getting to know someone. Just don't go to Zzz's. Whether you're on a date or not, just don't go to this place. Honestly, it's so overpriced. The food is so bad. It tastes like they've just sprinkled everything in salt and then boiled it in a salt broth. Like, everything is so unnecessarily salty and greasy. The service is awful. I went there like 2 years ago, not on a date, on some work thing, and I still remember it. It was just absolutely dreadful. So if you take one thing from this video, don't go to Zzz's. All right, and that's my revenge on you, Zzz's, for that one terrible experience. Number 3, other. So cafe, it's a pretty good date, and of course you know how to order in a cafe thanks to my brilliant video that I made. The cinema, I've put a little asterisk here because I'm genuinely unsure if anyone goes to the cinema anymore. The arcade, yeah, that's pretty fun. Shopping, maybe. Go for a walk, yeah, that's nice and low effort, also pretty healthy. Netflix, if you're feeling a bit cheeky, and a picnic. And I've put an asterisk here because, well, a picnic, this is such a commendable first date. You know, if a guy takes you on a picnic, then fair play to him, because that is honestly a massive green flag, and you should probably marry him. Or it might also be a massive red flag, and he's just gaming the system. But either way, like a picnic, that requires serious organization and commitment. You know, you're putting a lot on the line by having your first date as a picnic. So, you know, fair play to anyone that does actually manage to pull that off. And of course, you need to make sure to pick a day that isn't raining, and that's like a challenge on its own. So, you know, if you've been taken on a picnic date or if you've hosted a picnic date, then fair play to you, mate. Fair play. Right, so the most important question, who pays for the date? Now, who do you think pays? This is a genuine question. I would like some answers, please. A is man, B is woman, C is split bill, or D is other. So I'd like your answers, please, in 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, yeah, a few answers there. Not bad, not bad. Well, their answer is D. It depends, so other. I think most of the time the guy will choose to pay, but recently I think it has changed a little bit and splitting the bill has become a lot more common, which is fair. You know, I completely understand and respect that. You know, me personally, I got you. It's all good. Nah, it's fine. You can get the next one. All right, cool. But yeah, a lot of the time, people choose to split, which is fine. Whatever you want to do. I think the stigma around splitting the bill is starting to go away. Now, stigma will definitely be included in the PDF, but if you don't know what it means, I'll just tell you now because it's relevant. So a stigma is kind of like a negative association surrounding something. So the negativity around splitting a bill is kind of going away. Not with me though. I got you. Anyway, the reason I mention this is because I know in some countries, the concept of splitting a bill might seem quite unusual, but yeah, things are changing. So just do what you feel most comfortable with. I think most guys are going to be pretty understanding if you would prefer to split the bill. And for the record, I completely understand why you may prefer that. Anyway, the point is, whilst I think most guys will be happy to pay, don't automatically assume that the guy is going to pay for everything like they might do in your native country. You know, I'm sure you would anyway, but just remember to bring your purse just in case, else before you know it, you might be in the back with your sleeves rolled up doing some dishes, trying to pay off your £25 Pizza Express bill. I've seen it happen. Right, one more thing that might annoy you is that some British men are quite useless when it comes to planning dates, and I think that people from certain countries may not appreciate this. So let me go into some more details now. So if you are a woman, I want you to imagine that a guy is asking you out on a date. Depending on where you're from, you might expect something like this. Okay, so I'm going to pick you up at 8, then we're going to go to this Italian restaurant here, then we're going to get a taxi to this nice French cafe, then we're going to have some cake, then we're going to walk around the park a little bit, and then I'll drop you home at 12, okay? You know, very organized. However, if you're dating a British guy, it might sound a bit more like this. Alright, so let's meet near here about 7:30, and yeah, we'll just walk around for a bit and kind of just see what happens. Maybe get a drink or like a bite to eat, just like whatever really. There is somewhere that I kind of want to check out. It should be open. I'm not too sure. I mean, you'll probably need a reservation, but you never know. Someone might cancel and we can swoop in there. So, you know, just like whatever really, maybe. Like, what do you want to do? Do you see the difference? And this comparison, by the way, it has nothing to do with money or even how interested they are in you. I just think the difference is how organized the date might be. So I don't know how much you care about that type of thing, but I just think that some of you may be expecting the date to be a bit more planned out and the guy to be a bit more decisive as well. You know, obviously not every British guy is like this. I've learned the hard way. And I might be reaching a bit here, but I honestly think this has something to do with like this deep-rooted British cultural mindset of not getting too excited about anything or not believing in something too much, just in case it all goes wrong. So just in case the date goes wrong, it's almost like a defense mechanism. Like, oh yeah, she rejected me and left me with a £500 overdraft, so I was forced to eat ramen out of my hands for the next 6 months. But, you know, it wasn't really that well planned out. It was just like a casual date. I don't care. And once again, that is why a picnic is so commendable, as there is no way you can use this excuse after having a picnic date. You know, you're putting everything on the line there, so fair play if you experience that. Right, that theory might be a bit of a stretch, but I just think that some of you may have to brace yourself for this. And if it does happen, please don't assume that they're not interested or that they're going to be a bad potential partner. It might just be like a cultural thing, to be honest. And if this does happen and this does bother you, but you do like them, just make sure to be like super passive aggressive and don't actually tell them what's wrong. So obviously drop loads of hints that you're annoyed, but just make sure not to tell them what the actual problem is. You know, as we say in England, communication is the killer of any healthy relationship. Just joking. Just be honest and direct. Like, hey, I really enjoy going on dates with you, but you know, sort your shit out. Start planning them properly. Oh, and one more thing as well. Don't be surprised if a British guy asks you out by saying something like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of going to this cafe later. You can come if you want. I promise you that is a very genuine and sincere invitation. It's just a cultural thing. That's my excuse anyway. Question number 3. Hi Dylan, are British guys shy? Hi there. Right, we have kind of touched on this already, but I will go into more details now, as of course this is a very important aspect of dating. So yeah, as we've said, British people in general tend to be less outgoing and therefore more reserved and shy. So for the most part, the answer to your question is yes. So what does this mean for you? Well, as we've said, this does mean that a guy is less likely to approach you even if they are interested. It does also mean that flirting might be a bit more subtle as well. So you may need to be a bit more attentive and pick up on smaller things. So if you think that a British guy is only kind of flirting with you, or a British girl, just any British person, please don't assume that they're not interested or they're only kind of interested, because they may be very interested. They're just being British and subtle. But then again, maybe you're right and they're not interested. Now then, let's look at the other side of the coin, rejection. And this happens to everyone, unfortunately, and you know, the more the better. So if you are rejecting a British person, you can either just ghost them, which is when you ignore all of their messages, and I think this is a pretty universal sign that you're not interested. Alternatively, you can just give them some slow, small replies, and this has the pretty similar effect. And if you don't want to reject them, just don't do either of those things. I know that sounds so obvious, but maybe you're working late one night or you're just not really in the mood to speak to anyone, and your partner, your British partner, may take this the wrong way and assume that you are no longer interested, you know. They might get the wrong message. Right, and if you are getting rejected by a British person, then just look here. And if either of those things are happening to you, then yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It might be time to move on, because you probably belong here next to comic book guy, Kirk, Van Houten, Mole Man, Barney Gumble, Disco Stu, Mo Sislak, Professor Frink, Otto, and the Sea Captain. You belong right here, unfortunately. Anyway. So yeah, what you need to know is that a British person is also very unlikely to tell you when they're actually not interested. They won't tell you, they'll just give you hints instead, you know. Far too rude otherwise. Question number 4. I heard in West, people date lots of people at once. Is this true? Honestly, it depends on the person and the situation. So yeah, this is sometimes true, and I'm going to use this question to talk about the different types of dating in the UK. So as mentioned, it all depends on the person. You know, some people may prefer a serious commitment earlier, whereas others may want to casually date for a while first. I'd say it's a mixed bag in the UK, and I will teach you the typical timeline for a normal relationship in a minute. And guys, I even made this pretty cool diagram from Tinder to death. Nice. But yeah, it's not uncommon for people to be casually dating multiple people at once. Not like a group date at the same time. That would be a little bit weird, but it's more like, so maybe it's your turn on Friday and then Sundays are reserved for the next person, but Mondays are no good, unfortunately. But, we might have a slot for you next Tuesday, the 11th at 4 p.m. if that time works for you. That type of thing. So yeah, don't be afraid to be direct and ask what you are and if you are exclusive. For the record, in this instance, exclusive means that you only see or date that person and no one else. You may have heard that word before when I was talking about how when you sign up to my newsletter, you get sent an exclusive bonus video. Yeah. Anyway, if you ask if you're exclusive, the other person should hopefully just be honest and straightforward and tell you the truth. They could also lie as well, but either way, doesn't really affect me. Okay, so we have number 1, casual dating. This isn't normally exclusive unless agreed upon otherwise. We have serious dating, which would hopefully be exclusive, and this would normally lead to a relationship. We have relationships, so boyfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend. You are official. We have one night stands, which is when you enjoy each other's company for one night, and this is typically preceded by some alcohol. By the way, these are quite common in the UK, especially with younger people, but they can also be easily avoided. So I think it's completely up to you if you'd like to explore that route or not. I've put other, so open relationships. These aren't as common. This is when you are in a relationship with someone, but I think you can also be in a relationship with someone else at the same time. We have friends with benefits and situationships. And guys, I'm trying to keep this video classy. So if you are interested in those things, just Google it. But it's pretty much just casual sex, to be honest. Anyway, those are the main ones. Okay, so it's now time to get into the expected timeline between matching on Tinder and eventually getting divorced. And I couldn't find an emoji for getting divorced, so I've just used this coffin one. Because what's the difference, am I right, lads, between divorce and death? Am I right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Right, timeline. So this assumes you are both looking for a normal monogamous relationship. By normal, I just mean the most common type of relationship. So exclusive with each other, and that's what monogamous means. So you're with each other and no one else. So if you are both looking for a relationship, this would typically happen after about 4 to 8 weeks of exclusive dating. I know in some countries, they're your boyfriend or your girlfriend after the first date or even during the first date, but it takes a bit longer here. If you want to tell the other person you love them, you're going to want to wait for at least 6 months minimum. Honestly, and I know that does sound ridiculous, but it's true. It's true. And guys, even if they love you too, they're still going to have this type of reaction, whoa, okay, bit soon. I just want to reiterate, the other person could love you back, but I think it just ties in with this whole British stiff upper lip thing of, not showing too many emotions. So unfortunately, that is something that you're going to need to get used to. Question number 5. Can you marry different culture person? So I think in terms of whether it's socially acceptable, yeah, I don't think this is ever going to be a problem. We're quite open-minded when it comes to this type of thing. And you see it a lot in the UK anyway, especially in the bigger cities. So you're all good, guys. You're all good. But that is as long as you can deal with all the annoying British cultural nuances that we have just discussed. And yeah, you're probably going to have to get used to speaking English as well, because people here don't tend to speak more than one language. Of course, I'm the exception. I speak English, Korean, Italian, probably Japanese soon enough as well. So you're going to have to get used to speaking English, which is why it's such a good thing that you have such an amazing English teacher, right? So with my help, my guidance, you'll go from absolute noob, doesn't even know how to say hello, to a total pro, a fluent, eloquent native speaker. So you got that to look forward to. If you've made, I didn't write this. Did you write this? If you've made it this far, Henry wrote this. That's so crazy. This is the dog, by the way. This is Henry. He wrote this. If you've made it this far, surely subscribe. That's so weird. That's such a weird thing to say. He's right though. He is right, in fairness. Like, you may as well subscribe. I mean, we'll wait for you. We're all going to wait for you to subscribe. So all you need to do is scroll down and press the little subscribe button. Okay. We're going to wait for 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You done it? Cool. That was easy, right? Brilliant. Well, I'll see you next video. Question 6. Dylan, do people kiss? Yeah. People kiss. I'm going to assume you mean do people kiss in public, and we're going to talk about PSA, public signs of affection in British culture. So I remember reading years ago, I don't know where, that if you date a British guy, you're unlikely to receive any PSAs, public signs of affection. And by this, I mean like holding hands or hugging or kissing. And to be honest, I don't actually think this is true. Maybe some couples prefer it that way, but I think for most people, public signs of affection are absolutely fine as long as they are classy. Okay. As long as they're tasteful, they don't need to be classy. Like, for instance, like holding hands and just being cute in general, that's absolutely fine, knock yourself out. Just don't be stood in the middle of a busy train getting with each other, because I don't think that anyone really wants to see that. And I do have a story about this as well. So I remember years ago, I was on the tube in London, and it was a busy Sunday in the middle of summer. It was absolutely boiling, and there was no air conditioning on this tube as well. There were no seats. Everyone was stood up, and we were packed like sardines. It was honestly it was this busy. It was a Sunday as well, so everyone knew they'd work tomorrow. The mood wasn't great. It was quite somber, to be honest. Anyway, sitting in 2 of the center seats, so about here or here, there was a young couple, maybe like 20 or so, and they were just completely oblivious to all this. They were in their own little world. They were playing a game, actually, where they did rock, paper, scissors, but the loser had to kiss the other one on the cheek. That classic game that we all play with our friends. Anyway, they did this for about 25 minutes straight, just like giggling and being loud and stuff. I'm not joking, 25 minutes straight. So I worked out they must have kissed each other on the cheek like 150 times. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but just bear in mind where they are. In these conditions, like if you've ever been on the tube in London when it's like this, you know that it's silent. So you understand how crazy that is, right? Anyway, so each game of RPS, or rock, paper, scissors, takes about 5 seconds. And that's bearing in mind that you're probably not going to win on your first go. So I've given them 3 failures, all right? That takes 5 seconds. Kissing someone on the cheek is probably like 1 second. And I've very, very generously given them about 4 seconds of giggling and stuff like that. So 1 kiss takes about 10 seconds. So that's 6 kisses per minute. 25 minutes, 6 kisses, 150 kisses. That is wild. 150 kisses on such a busy train. That's got to be some sort of world record. Honestly, I was pretty tempted to get off at the next stop, find the closest custom trophy maker and get them one of these each, because honestly, that is quite impressive. In these conditions, that is wild. That is wild. And the reason why I'm making such a big deal about this, the reason why I remember this story is just because, honestly, I've never seen a British person act like that in my entire life. They're completely going against the societal norms. So in a way, good for them. And I'm not hating, guys. I love love. I got the t-shirt to prove it. It was just quite cringy though, in that particular instance. So by all means, guys, normal levels of PSA are absolutely fine if you want to, but keep it tasteful. Question number 7. Hiya Dylan, last year I met an interesting English guy. We had the same interests, we're both very serious, but we had completely the opposite sense of humour. He couldn't understand my jokes, and I thought he was insulted me with his jokes. We lost in translation. So firstly, I am extremely sorry to hear that, but it's not really a question, is it? It's a bit of a waste of time. All right, next one. I'm just joking, guys. Perfect example of dry, British, subtle sense of humour that may be seen as insulting. Right, I am genuinely sorry to hear that though, but you have brought up a very valid point, so thank you very much for your non-question. So of course, humour is very important in every relationship. You want to be with someone who you can have fun with and who makes you laugh. And I'm sorry to get off track here, but this is Microsoft Word. I bet you didn't know that you could insert GIFs that you can pause and play on demand. I mean, obviously the Spotify people, they don't know what we're talking about, but We're having a blast over here on YouTube. Anyway, so in this instance, we have a young woman who unfortunately was unable to comedically bond with her British partner. So these were the expectations, and sadly, this was the reality. Quite a stark difference, very stern over here. So yeah, our jokes are quite dry, blunt, and sarcastic. So I completely understand why someone who isn't used to them may feel as if they are being insulted. But most of the time, that isn't the case. Most of the time, it's important not to take our jokes too literally, as they're probably just going to be us trying to be funny and make you laugh. So I think maybe you just need to get used to British humour, and I'm not too sure where you're from, but he probably needed to get used to your sense of humour as well. I think we are quite proud of our style of humour, so it's important that you somewhat appreciate British jokes and that you find them amusing, else it probably isn't going to work out in the long run, you know. We've discussed all of the negatives of having a British partner, so one of the few positives, well, of course we have the sexy accent, and we also have the British style of humour that I know quite a lot of you do find quite appealing, so it should be something that you celebrate and that you cherish, not just something that you tolerate and put up with. However, then again, maybe he just wasn't that funny in the first place, and that's why you didn't get any of his jokes. Like, not every British person is funny. Some of the most boring people I've ever met in my life have been from the UK. So it might be the case of a British person makes a joke to you, and you're unsure if... Right, let me rephrase this. The next time a British person makes a joke to you that you don't understand, don't automatically assume that you don't like or don't understand British humour, because the joke just may have been shit and the British guy just isn't funny. Okay, so thankfully for you, I have created a golden rule. When a British person next makes a joke to you and you aren't too sure how to take it, just ask yourself this one question. Would Dylan make this joke? If the answer is yes, then laugh, obviously. And if the answer is no, then break up with them immediately and just never tell them why. Question number 8. What is normal age difference for boyfriend and girlfriend? And I'm glad that someone asked this, as I think there is a pretty big difference here between the UK and pretty much any other country in the world, especially some Eastern countries. So in the UK, I'd say like the most normal age difference, if you're both in your 20s, is honestly like 4 years max. And by normal, I mean like socially accepted or common. So like 21, 25 is fine. You know, if one of you's 21, the other one's 25, it's like just about acceptable. But like 20, 25 is honestly, it would be seen as a bit weird. And like 25, 29 is okay, but 25, 30, I know that sounds stupid, but it genuinely would be seen as a bit weird here, I think. Bear in mind that the older you get, the more acceptable a larger age gap becomes, of course. If you're both in your 30s, like 8 years is fine. So like 30, 38 is quite substantial, but I think it would be okay. But if it was like 30, 40, you know, it would get discussed. It wouldn't go unnoticed type thing. In your 40s, I don't know, like 10 years, and then it just goes up and up and up. Like if you're both in your 40s at that point, you can just do what you want at that point, honestly. Right, this scale that I've made is completely arbitrary, and it does vary a lot from person to person. It's not a standard rule, but I genuinely believe that these are the most common socially accepted age differences in the UK. But this brings me on to the point I really want to make, which is large age gaps tend to be frowned upon in the UK. They're seen as weird, and the older person, who is normally a guy, may be judged quite negatively. So say in your country, right, if you have an 18-year-old woman who is dating like a 30-year-old man, that's probably quite normal for some of you, right? That's not unusual. You know, I get it. The man is a lot more mature. Probably they have more financial stability, almost definitely. Maybe more physically attractive in some cases. You know, it makes sense. However, if I'm being honest, in the UK, if an 18-year-old woman was dating a 30-year-old man, it would be seen as weird. I'm just going to be honest. It would genuinely be seen as pretty weird. So, as mentioned, the guy would get heavily judged and would be seen in quite a negative light. And guys, I'm not here to tell you whether that's right or wrong. I'm just telling you what it's actually like in the UK. I'm just being honest, right? And the reason I wanted to mention that is because I know that just isn't the case in many different countries, but in the UK, it seems to me like this just isn't really something that's seen as socially acceptable. There is quite a big stigma around age differences, and that could be useful for you to know. Question number 9. So I just want to ask one question, like, do you guys can have a boyfriend and girlfriend, and do your parents allow it? Yeah, so before answering this question, it's probably worth mentioning that it's pretty common for adults in the UK not to live with their parents. I know that isn't the case for other parts of the world. I also think that, like, respectfully, our decisions are probably less influenced by our parents than some other countries. We are less controlled by them. And I think that is a good thing in some ways and probably a bad thing in others. So for us, if you're an adult, I think it's unlikely that your parents are going to control whether or not you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Of course, they may have opinions on who you're dating, but I don't think they're going to be able to say that you can't date in general. Even if you are an adult living with your parents, you know, at the end of the day, you're still an adult. So I think they're likely to let you have a partner, pretty much. But if you're talking about before you are an adult, so say like a teenager between the ages of 16 and 18, you are likely to be living with your parents at that point. And, you know, you're not an adult yet, so they do technically have control over you. But if I'm honest, I still think that most families will allow you to have a partner at that age, unless they are particularly strict about that type of thing. Question number 10, and this is the last one. So I want to say a massive thank you to everyone who submitted a question, and of course for you guys for making it this far as well. Okay. Question 10. I'm a little embarrassed to ask, but I'm genuinely curious. My ex-boyfriend, who is British, justified our breakup after 2 years by saying it was due to British politeness. I've asked my British colleagues and they say that's nonsense, but honestly, I feel like they are just as polite. Yeah, I'm not going to lie, mate. This question kind of hurts my brain because I'm not too sure how to respond. I've read it a few times. It's not a question, firstly, but we're going to let that go. I think I may need some more context here to comment on it, but I will try my best to give you some information on what happened here. So your boyfriend of 2 years randomly decides to break up with you because of British politeness. Not just any politeness, British politeness. Yeah, I think your colleagues have answered this for me. That is nonsense, I'm afraid. And honestly, you deserve better. He dumped you out of politeness. Okay, I have a theory. Hear me out. So say you are in an arcade and you sit down at the best machine you can. Someone's drilling into my wall. We're so nearly done filming and someone starts drilling into my wall. Can you hear that? Right, we're just going to carry on. Sorry about that. Right, so let's pretend you walk into an arcade and you see the most brilliant machine ever. And this is lighting up. It looks so fun and engaging and you just want to hop on it and start playing it. So your boyfriend, that's your ex-boyfriend, that's exactly what he's done, right? He's found this machine and he's been playing it for the last 2 years. He's having so much fun, and to him, this is the best machine in the world. It's absolutely perfect. But then after 2 years, you know, he has a little look around and he sees that everyone else is kind of a bit jealous. You know, he's on the best machine there and maybe someone else wants to have a go, you know? So I get it. Maybe he just feels a bit bad, like he's being a bit selfish, maybe a bit rude by hogging this machine. And sometimes you got to do the right thing and just step back and let someone else have a turn. So I think in this instance, you are the machine and you are so perfect that your boyfriend, he felt guilty for having you all to himself. And he knows that it was someone else's turn, you know. So out of politeness, he stepped back and said respectfully, we need to break up, out of British politeness. So we're gonna frame it like that, okay, mate? Nah, but honestly, I'm sorry to hear that, and you definitely deserve better, so good luck. Right, guys, and that is it for the questions. We are now on to part 2, where we will be taking a quick look at dating expressions and vocabulary. Now, I need to just say, like, I love filming videos, like, I love making videos for you guys, but I've been at this one for about 5 hours now in the hot, dry Japanese air. So I'm pretty relieved to get to this point. Let's just get this wrapped up, shall we? Right, everyone, thank you very much for those who submitted a question. After watching that section, you should hopefully have a much better grasp as to what dating is like in the UK. For this section, I have picked out 28 different words and expressions to do with the UK, to do with UK dating, I should have said. So stuff like rizz, get with, wingman, wingwoman, dump. I was originally going to read them all out, but it was just a bit boring to watch. So I've included all of these in the free PDF and the link is in the top comment. So before we get to the outro, I just wanted to say that if you have any more questions that you would like me to answer to do with dating or just about the UK in general, please message me on Instagram. I will answer all of them next Friday in another video. And of course, I will keep you all anonymous as well. I'm not going to say what your name is or what your username. You know, I'm here to answer your questions. So the Instagram is BritishEducation_ and the link will be in the top comment. Feel free to message me with the most random questions you can think of, because if you're thinking of that question, there's probably someone else watching that has that exact question. So don't be shy. And also guys, you know, whilst you're there, you may as well drop me a follow on Instagram as well. You can see the jump cuts appearing now. The mistakes are creeping in. We're nearly there. I'll see you at the outro. Right guys, and there we have it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I appreciate this is probably gonna be quite a long video, so I genuinely massively appreciate you making it this far. I hope you learned something. As mentioned, all of the useful words and expressions that popped up on the screen will be explained in a free PDF, and the link is in the top comment. Whilst you are there, why not consider signing up to my newsletter, and every Tuesday I will send you a fun, exclusive English lesson about my life. So it's normally like a short story about what I've been up to. I include some photos and teach you some vocabulary on the way. I'll let you know what the video for next Friday is going to be. And of course, I've got an exciting announcement coming up soon as well, so you will be the first to know. And yeah, guys, you also receive an exclusive bonus video as soon as you sign up. So why not? You won't regret it, I promise. So if you did learn something today, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and maybe even commenting down below. It all makes a massive difference. You might want to turn on the notification bell as well, as I have a lot of these UK culture guides on the way. They're really hard to make. They take a lot of time, and filming them is an absolute pain in the ass, but I do really enjoy them, and I know you guys find them useful as well. So that could be where the style of content, that's the direction it's going to be going in. If you would like to stay in touch, I would recommend following my Instagram, BritishEducation_, or my Spotify, where all of my videos are posted and you can listen on the go. That is just British Education. All of the links are in the top comment. As mentioned, I post new videos every Friday, so hopefully I will see you there. And of course, next Friday, I'm going to be answering more questions about the UK. Right, guys, I think that's it. I hope you're able to find love like these two here. And yeah, that's it. So cheers. Goodbye.